Welcome to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Wes the Economist and Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist, coming to you live from the Wave Beach Realty Studios in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
All right, guys, welcome back into Season 1, Episode 14 of the Dollars and Cents Podcast. This is our quick clip series with Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist, especially on this episode, and Wes the Economist sitting across from me.
I get to get schooled now on what's been going on with one of your favorite conspiracies, JFK.
Yes,
stuff has been released.
Yes, the JFK files, a lot of them have been released. I still think there's another 40,000 documents they have to release because they're doing them, they scanned a bunch of them in, they upload them as PDFs. I think there's going to be one more dump of them that will come out, but right now the majority of them are out. I've seen some interesting things in there based off like different people I've listened to that have already made YouTube videos and stuff. I'm getting different opinions of what people are seeing and not seeing. I know there's a lot of, intelligence that was talked about during that time with our government. There's a lot of memos and stuff that I saw from Cuba and the Castro regime that were putting out memos about the assassination. So to give people a brief synopsis, when I first started studying this back in the day, obviously I did projects that as early as like 5th, 6th grade on the Kennedy assassination. It was like I was always
5th or 6th grade, really?
Yeah, I had like a history class, and I had to do one of my first big projects was like we had to do it on like a historic event, and I did it on the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, I was big into it. I used to watch documentaries on it all the time growing up, and I went to Dallas literally made a trip there one year just because I wanted to see where he got shot and go through the school book depository. And then I went to Lee Harvey Oswald's boarding house that he was staying in while he was living in Dallas at the time when he killed the president and all that. So, and I went on a whole tour.
Okay, wait a minute. I like when you went kill the
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, what I've gathered, obviously, I don't know if, a lot of people may not know this, but the mafia actually was really big on helping JFK get into office. Apparently, they try to deny it, but the Kennedys back in the day were involved in bootlegging, especially JFK's father. And then he was in government for a long time. So when JFK was running for president, the mob was actually helping to get him elected. And I don't know if they were paying people off or whatever they were doing. It was so corrupt back then, you could do about anything if you were in the mafia. But when he got in office, one of the first things he did, obviously, was elect Bobby Kennedy as his attorney general. And Bobby Kennedy's first thing he decided he was going to do was make it his mission to tackle organized crime, which I think ended up being part of the reason JFK was assassinated. There's definitely enough proof to show the CIA wanted him out of there because he was trying to dismantle and rebrand the CIA because he could tell they were kind of getting corrupt and getting too big, getting a little bit too much power for what they were. And so what it looks like for me is that the CIA probably planned the assassination, but kind of sourced this out to the mafia, possibly some Cubans. And then obviously they used Lee Harvey Oswald as really a patsy like he said he was when they interviewed him because he had defected and moved to Russia, had married a Russian wife. He ended up leaving Russia. He didn't like it there. And there's memos about that too, where he came back. And there's actual CIA memos going back and forth where they're trying to figure out why he was allowed back in the country, because it's very rare if you defect from the United States being allowed back in, but especially if you go to a communist country, marry a Russian woman, and then get allowed back into the country. So they're like, you could almost get that they were insinuating that somebody behind the scenes allowed him to come back in and slip through the cracks. So I definitely think he was a shooter and part of it because he hated America and didn't like Kennedy either. But from what I can tell in the documents that I've seen so far, it seems like the CIA was over this in large, even though there's no documents that they're going to release that says, hey, we, the CIA, did this. Obviously, they would have burnt that document. But you can imply it if you read enough of the documents. And I'm only 5 pages deep of 292 pages worth of documents, and each one of those PDFs has, some of them are 50 pages, some of them are 1,000. I mean, I
think I've heard like 80,000 pages released so far. Is that right?
Pages. Yeah, so I'm sure there's people that have got through a good chunk of them that could tell you a lot more than what I know right now. But as far as I can tell, it looks like the CIA blanketed this operation and sourced it out, and the mafia had a big part of it. And we had already been trying to assassinate Castro multiple times.
How
did
When life gets unpredictable, turn to a partner you can trust. At Bobby Clary State Farm, we've got you covered. Whether it's home, auto, or life insurance, we're dedicated to providing personalized coverage that fits your needs. With our friendly and knowledgeable team, navigating your insurance options have never been easier. Visit BobbyClary.com or call 843-438-6000. Bobby Clary State Farm, here to help life go right.
How did the Vietnam fit into all that? Has any of that come out yet? Because I know that JFK supposedly had signed the order to pull us out of Vietnam, and one of the first things Johnson did when he was sworn in was to get rid of that executive order.
Yeah, that was one of the first things he did. I also saw there was a memo or something that I read that he even already had a secondary suit ready for that day, like he was planning to get blood on it. But that haven't got deep enough in. That's more conspiracy theory than anything right now. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it plays. I'm sure I got to get more into it because there's a lot of papers that as I keep going further that I'm sure we'll get into the Vietnam War and everything surrounding it. But yeah, he was definitely trying to get us out of that, and because JFK was definitely a president that wanted peace, he did not want war. Johnson, I guess, seemed to be more of a military industrial complex type president. I'm not a fan of him whatsoever or anything he did after the fact. But
I'm not either.
Yeah,
he's on my top 5 or 6 or worst presidents ever.
Yeah, he's. I think he's probably on about everybody's list if you look at what he did for his brief time. But yeah, so I'm sure that played into it. I mean, some people say that even maybe he knew about it. There was one a public official, and I can't remember what he was, like a senator or something, and I'll find that document that not long after the assassination happened, he had some information that the CIA knew about the assassination before it happened, which there's documents about that anyway. And he was going to go public with that apparently, but he was found like within days of the JFK assassination, dead in an apartment complex. Or at his apartment or somewhere. I got to go back and find the document, but there's a lot of weird things that happened right after the assassination that don't add up. Like, again, I just haven't got far enough to give you a full rundown, but as far as I can tell, and I even have one document here, and it's a Cuban memo. It was Cuba tidbits from late November. On November 27th, Cuban official Ruben Suarez spoke with another Cuban official posted in Managua, Maria Lopez, about the Kennedy assassination. Lopez claimed that Brigadier General Fabian Escalante, font of the Ministry of Interior, was handling the matter and that he had information that could positively identify the Kennedy assassins, plural. And that is a top secret memo that was passed along with Cuban intelligence. So I think Cuba could have had something to do with it. That's why they were talking about these intelligence briefings in Cuba. How we got those documents, I have no idea. But it was part of it. So again, there's a lot you can read into on here. It's really interesting. If I had to guess, I would agree, and I've always thought that the CIA had something to do with it. I'm almost certain now that the mafia was tied into it to probably hire gunmen and to handle assassination and planning. Because if anybody's going to assassinate somebody, the mafia is probably your best go-to. And then using Lee Harvey Oswald to be able to say, oh, he was just a crazy. He defected to Russia and he was just a communist and hated the president and wanted to kill him. That's an easy way out.
Yeah.
But nothing about that in the single gunman theory adds up. So it's been a lie the whole time.
I smell a full podcast coming on this pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm going to keep on digging and I'll get as much as I can. The only thing that sucks, I think, at the end of it, no matter what we find out, like the CIA or nobody's ever going to be held accountable. So it won't really matter. My
question is, why have they waited so long to release this? If there's no smoking gun in it, it's something still seems kind of fishy to me.
Yeah, I think that some of the because what they did is they release all these puzzle pieces in these documents, but they don't put them in any specific order. And it's the puzzles. It's like solving like a million piece puzzle. It's going to take forever if you can even solve it. So they released enough to still leave you skeptical. So I think if you were able to put it all together and the right people got their hands on it, you could probably get enough information to say, hey, the CIA was, whether they were directly behind it or at least knew about it and didn't do anything, you could hold them liable and say that they need to be disbanded and rebuilt because that seemed corrupt. But they're so powerful now, I don't know that we could even do that. But obviously they wanted it withheld, probably for the reason of making them look very bad or at least incompetent at the very least.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're closer to the truth, but it seems like we're still a long way away.
Yeah, it's the same thing with everything. It's like the government's so big and so powerful, especially these these three-letter agencies, like your FBI, your CIA, your NSA. It's like they do everything so secretive. It's like how much are you really going to find out? I mean, they're not around. I'm sure they're not in the business of keeping documents that would directly implicate them in anything. Like why would you type up
Of
documents
course not. Why would
right?
you have
So it's
those
just
kids? Yeah.
right. Yeah. Why would you even put that on paper? So, you're only going to gather so much. But I hope more comes out. I hope some people are held accountable, or at least we get some answers and can change accordingly. But at the same time, I hope more comes out about the Epstein stuff because nobody's been held accountable for that, as well as whatever happens with the P Diddy trial. And I hope more comes out there because those are more common current events that a lot of people should be held accountable for doing a lot of horrible things, human trafficking and whatnot. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely interesting to say the least. I've enjoyed so far reading through it, and some of it actually feels surreal. Just actually reading top secret documents that were like secret in the '60s. It's kind of cool to see.
So, Jonathan, the conspiracy theory is going to make a huge comeback with a few podcasts, a lot of quick clips coming up. And you said something about posting some video just of you going through the documents. You still going to do that?
Yeah, so what I think I'm going to do is anytime I go through one and I find it significant or interesting and can tie it to something else I've already read, I'm going to probably just post a video just doing a synopsis of and then I'll put obviously which PDF file it's in because they do have them labeled with numbers, not they should give descriptions. It would make my life a lot easier, but they're all just long numbers. So I'll number them in the descriptions, and I'll go through some of the and I'll tag it and have just a playlist for the Kennedy assassination files, and because they go into MLK and like you said, the Vietnam War, Israel's tied into this a lot in some documents. I mean, there's a lot of I don't even know my history good enough to understand some of the stuff I'm reading. I have to almost go back to 1960s history and put the history lesson with the documents and come up with my own synopsis of what I think's going on. It's a lot. It's a lot, but
they'll probably get a lot of hits. That'll probably be good.
That would probably be good because that's a commonly searched thing right now, and anything I can do to help and give my little 10 cents, whether even if it gets 5 views, if somebody reads it and gets something out of it, that's cool enough for me.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll be back for the quick clips later in the week, and hopefully we can get a podcast done here soon in the studio.
Sounds good. Yeah, well, hopefully next week we can get a full episode in the studio. Obviously, both of us are busy. That's good. But yeah, hopefully, guys, we'll get you a full episode up soon. And I will be in touch with my JFK conspiracy videos coming to you soon.
Are you looking to buy a home in North or South Carolina? You need to reach out to Wave Beach Realty today. We are a family-owned company with over 10 years of experience in North and South Carolina and operate along the Grand Strand. Give us a call today at 843-957-3872. That's 843-957-3872.
Happy New Year. And as we get the year started, let's get your financial picture in focus by getting a budget and getting those spending habits looked at. Reach out to me at coachwestc@gmail.com and we'll get you off to a good start.
Thanks for listening to the Dollars and Cents Podcast with Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist and Wes the Economist. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X at DollarsCentsGS and on Facebook at Dollars and Cents.